Let's welcome in commentary editor for the Washington Times and Newsmax contributor Kelly Sadler and radio host and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps. Chris, here's the big question. So the Fed did this. This by no means is a magic bullet, hiking rates. This is a gamble. This is a gamble. We have no idea how this plays out. The Fed has done this several times over the last 50 years, typically when we're already in the midst of a recession and typically right after we hit bear market territory in the market. So we are there again. And they're 50-50. And we won't know until it's too late. But the big question, Chris, will inflating interest rates end up deflating prices across the country?
I don't think so right now. I mean, the contemporary wisdom is that in order to tame inflation, that the interest rates have to match what the inflation rate is. And we saw last month that inflation was 8.6%, probably going to hit 9% probably by the end of the year. So we're probably looking at another 2% increase in interest rates. 1994 is a special year to me. That is the year that my daughter was born. Oh. I bought my first house the next year in 95. And I had a rock bottom rate supposedly at that time at 7%, a little under 7%.
Wow.
And we're right back there at those times.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
It's obvious that the Fed chairman is no Paul Volcker.
Yeah, Kelly, I mean, the Fed's basically saying, like, we're going to do this, but a lot of the stuff is out of our control. They can't control gas prices. They can't control what's happening with the cost of food and everything else going on. We have people that have taken at least $9,000 out of their savings account. That's the average. Credit card debt is at its all-time high. So now you're going to increase these rates. People are forced to put money on their credit card. Now you're going to be paying more in these finance charges. And they are saying, look, we may meet in July. We may take these rates up more.
Yeah, and the housing market has been hot, and this is going to affect the mortgage rates. So we're probably going to see a cooling off of the housing market, and the value of your home, unfortunately, is going to go down. Those that have credit card debts, that's only going to spiral upward. We saw yesterday there was another retail sales are down. So consumers are pulling back from this economy. That was what was fueling. That's why Joe Biden says we have such a great economy, is because people are getting out and spending their money. But now we're seeing a contraction of that as well. And it's mostly because of these high gasoline prices.
Yeah.
If you're paying so much at a pump, you can't go into the retail store or go out, to eat dinner. You're cutting back elsewhere. So I feel that we're in a recession. Many economists feel a recession is looming. You had Jamie Dimon basically come out a couple weeks ago saying that we have about 6 to 9 months left where consumers feel good or are still making purchases. But then there's going to be a hurricane, and he doesn't know if it's going to be a Hurricane Sandy or a minor one. But I think we're all going to have to brace ourselves.
Hurricane's still a hurricane, though, Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, right now. So yesterday, I was looking at the numbers. We haven't seen. So the NASDAQ is down. Check that. The S&P is down 22% since the start of the new year. We haven't seen that since 2007, 2008. And that was, the end of George W. Bush, the financial crisis. That's why John McCain lost that election. It wasn't for any other reason. It was because we were thrust into the... Remember Lehman Brothers? All right. I had a cousin who worked at Lehman Brothers here in Midtown Manhattan. When this happens, the point that I'm making, when something like this happens, it can change somebody's life in a cataclysmic way when we go into a recession. My cousin just graduated from Babson. He's sitting at Lehman Brothers in Midtown. His boss walks in and says, listen, you're either fired or you can go work on our Latin America desk in Mexico City. Okay, that's 2008, Kelly. Fast forward the clock. My cousin still lives in Mexico City. Okay, that's the impact that this all had on his life, and that's what the American people are looking at right now. But just to the inflation piece, the administration wants us to think that everybody on the planet has bad inflation right now, and it's just not the truth. Go to the north. Look at Canada. They're at 6.8. I'd take 6.8 right now over 8.6.
I mean, but they're looking at all the wrong policy prescriptions to curb inflation, right? The way you curb inflation is to unleash our energy, as well as give corporations tax breaks. Get the corporations back investing, deregulate. These regulations are holding a lot of corporations back from investing in this economy. That's how you grow an economy. That's what Ronald Reagan did. That's what Volcker did. But this is not something that the Biden administration is willing to do. Instead, they're saying we need to spend more money. We need to build back better, and we need to pass trillions in more spending. Well, that spending is what fueled inflation in the first place. And so I just feel like in 2 years, we got to vote this administration out because I don't see this economy recovering in that period of time with these policy prescriptions that they have.
Chris, Kelly brought up a good point, tax breaks. But then a couple of weeks ago, Jen Psaki said, well, the president plans to tackle this by taxing the corporations. That's going to be his solution, as you mentioned, spending more. I mean, Chris, we're talking about a recession, but you mentioned it in the last hour. A simple fix, because what's causing a lot of this is the fuel prices, is to be able to drill here in the United States. That could potentially fix a lot of this, right?
I think it would solve a lot of this. And I remember when we had this problem before a few years ago, that when Saudi Arabia started pumping more oil, when we were pumping more oil because they wanted to keep the price high and the price was lower because we were pumping more oil. And it's cost prohibitive for wildcatters and other oil companies to do what they do if the price of oil is too low. And that was a strategy of Saudi Arabia to stop the oil production in this country by them pumping more oil to make the price low.
Yeah, Kelly, you brought up Joe Biden in 2024, and after that New York Times article that got a whole lot of attention because it was written in the New York Times about Joe Biden in 2024, I say, forget about Joe Biden in 2024. Everyone keeps talking about that. He's got to get through the next 2.5 years before we have that conversation. We're only 17 months in. We've got 2.5 more years of Joe Biden. Think about that. Panel, a lot more to get into at the top of the next hour. I want to cover Elon Musk's move to he's voting red. We know that. Voted red in Texas on Tuesday. He says he's going to vote for Ron DeSantis. And the shadow campaign for 2024, as the Washington Post framed it, is already underway. I want to get into that. We'll see you guys again top of the hour. Kelly Sadler, Chris Arps, thanks so much.